In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. The Word, the name, Jesus the Christ. The following are quotes from some of the greatest minds to ever lived. The more I study science, the more I believe in God. End of quote. Albert Einstein, The Wall Street Journal, December 24th, 1997. Article by Jim Holt. Science Resurrects God. I want to know how God created this world. I am not interested in this or that phenomenon, in the spectrum of this or that element. I want to know His thoughts. The rest are details. End of quote. Albert Einstein, from E. Salomon, A Talk with Einstein. God is the author of the universe and the free establisher of the laws of motion. End of quote. Physicist and chemist Robert Boyle, who is considered to be the founder of modern chemistry. Quote, "It may seem bizarre, but in my opinion, science offers a surer path to God than religion." End of quote. Physicist Paul Davies. Astronomers now find they have painted themselves into a corner because they have proven by their own methods that the world began abruptly in an act of creation to which you can trace the seed of every star, every planet, every living thing in this cosmos and on the earth. And they have found that all this happened as a product of forces they cannot hope to discover. Physicist and founder of NASA's Goddard Institute of Space Studies, Robert Jastrow. Quote, "I believe that the more thoroughly science is studied, the further does it take us from anything comparable to atheism. If you study science deep enough and long enough, it will force you to believe in God." End of quote. Lord William Kelvin, who was noted for his theoretical work on thermodynamics, the concept of absolute zero, and the Kelvin temperature scale based upon it. Quote, "The fanatical atheists are like slaves who are still feeling the weight of their chains which they have thrown off after a hard struggle. They are creatures who, in their grudge against traditional religion as the opium of the masses, cannot hear the music of the spheres." End of quote. Albert Einstein. Quote, "God created everything by number, weight, and measure. In the absence of any other proof, the thumb alone would convince me of God's existence. I have a fundamental belief in the Bible as the Word of God, written by those who were inspired. I study the Bible daily." Sir Isaac Newton, who is widely regarded to have been the greatest scientist the world has ever produced. Both religion and science require a belief in God. For believers, God is the beginning, and for physicists, He is at the end of all considerations. To the former, He is the foundation; to the latter, the crown of the edifice of every generalized worldview. There can never be any real opposition between religion and science, for the one is the complement of the other. Every serious and reflective person realizes, I think, that the religious element in his nature must be recognized and cultivated if all the powers of the human soul are to act together in perfect balance and harmony. And indeed, it was not by accident that the greatest thinkers of all ages were deeply religious souls. End of quote. Max Planck, the Nobel Prize winner and physicist, considered to be the founder of quantum theory and one of the most important physicists of the 20th century, indeed of all time. The gift of mental power comes from God's divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power. Nikola Tesla, the inventor and futurist scientist known for numerous inventions, but best known for his contribution to the design of the modern alternating current. I have looked into most philosophical systems, and I have seen that none will work without God. Science is incompetent to reason upon the creation of matter itself out of nothing. We have reached the utmost limit of our thinking faculties when we have admitted that because matter cannot be eternal and self-existent, it must have been created. Physicist and mathematician James Clerk Maxwell, who is credited with formulating classical electromagnetic theory and whose contribution to science are considered to be of the same magnitude to those of Einstein and Newton. For myself, faith began with the realization that a supreme intelligence brought the universe into being and created man. It is not difficult for me to have this faith. Science can have no quarrel with a religion which postulates a God to whom men are to be his children. Arthur Compton, winner of the 1927 Nobel Prize in Physics for his discovery of the Compton effect. Those who say that the study of science makes a man an atheist must be rather silly. End of quote. Nobel Prize winner and physicist Max Born, who was instrumental in the development of quantum mechanics. God is a mathematician of very high order, and he used advanced mathematics in constructing the universe. Nobel Prize winner and physicist Paul A. M. Dirac, who made crucial early contributions to both quantum mechanics and quantum electrodynamics. The first gulp from the glass of natural science will turn you into an atheist. but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. Werner Heisenberg, who was awarded the 1932 Nobel Prize in Physics for the creation of quantum mechanics, which is absolutely crucial to modern science. Those who have magnified more recent controversies about the relationship of science and religion, and who have projected them back into historical time, simply perpetuate a historical myth. The myth of a perennial conflict between science and religion is one to which no historian of science would subscribe. Former Oxford University Professor of Science and Religion, Peter Harrison. The ghostly presence of virtual particles defies rational common sense and is non-intuitive for those unacquainted with physics. Religious belief in God and Christian belief that God became man around 2,000 years ago may seem strange to common sense thinking, but when the most elementary physical things behave in this way, we should be prepared to accept that the deepest aspect of our existence go beyond our common sense intuitions. Nobel Prize winner physicist Tony Hewish, as quoted in the foreword to John Polkinghorne and Nicholas Beake's book. The best data we have concerning the Big Bang are exactly what I would have predicted had I nothing to go on but the 5 books of Moses, the Psalms, the Bible as a whole. If there are a bunch of fruit trees, one can say that whosoever created these fruit trees wanted some apples. In other words, by looking at the order in the world, we can infer purpose, and from purpose we begin to get some knowledge of the Creator. I look at God through the works of God's hands, and from those works imply intentions. From these intentions, I receive an impression of the Almighty. Arno Penzias, the 1978 Nobel Prize recipient in physics, as cited in New York Times on March 12, 1978. There is for me powerful evidence that there is something going on behind it all. It seems as though somebody has fine-tuned nature's numbers to make the universe. The impression of design is overwhelming. Physicist Paul Davies. I believe that a full understanding of this remarkable human capacity for scientific discovery ultimately requires the insight that our power in this respect is the gift of the universe Creator, who in that ancient and powerful phase has made humanity in the image of God. Genesis 1, 26 through 27. Through the exercise of this gift, those working in fundamental physics are able to discern a world of deep and beautiful order, a universe shot through with signs of mind. I believe that it is indeed the mind of the world's Creator that is perceived in this way. Science is possible because the universe is a divine creation. Former Cambridge University professor of mathematical physics, John Tulkinghorn, as quoted in his book Quantum Physics and Theology. It is relatively unusual that a physical scientist is truly an atheist. Why is this true? Some point to the anthropic constraint, the remarkable fine-tuning of the universe. For example, Freeman Dyson, a Princeton faculty member, has said, "Nature has been kinder to us than we had any right to expect." Quantum chemist Henry F. Schaefer III, five-time nominee for the Nobel Prize, as quoted in his essay Stephen Hawking's The Big Bang and God. To know the mighty works of God, to comprehend His wisdom and majesty and power, to appreciate in degree the wonderful working of His laws, surely all this must be a pleasing and acceptable mode of worship to the Most High, to whom ignorance cannot be more grateful than knowledge. Nicholas Copernicus, the mathematician and astronomer who formulated a heliocentric model of the universe, as cited in The Language of God by Francis Collins. The significance and joy in my science come in those occasional moments of discovering something new and saying to myself, "So that's how God did it." My goal is to understand a little corner of God's plan. Henry Fritz Schaefer, five-time Nobel Prize nominee. It is evident that an acquaintance with natural laws means no less than an acquaintance with the mind of God therein expressed. James Joule, propounder of the first law of thermodynamics. Joule also made important contributions to the kinetic theory of gases. The unit of heat known as a joule is named after him. There are many ways in which people are made aware of their power to believe in the supremacy of divine guidance and power. Through music or visual art, some event or experience decisively influencing their lives. Looking through a microscope or telescope, or just by looking at the miraculous manifestation or purposefulness of nature. Sir Ernest Train, winner of the 1945 Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology for the discovery of penicillin and its curative effect in various infectious diseases. Let me say that I don't see any conflict between science and religion. I go to church as many other scientists do. I share with most religious people a sense of mystery and wonder at the universe, and I want to participate in religious rituals and practices because there's something that all humans can share. Sir Martin Rees, the British cosmologist and astrophysicist who has been Astronomer Royal since 1995 and was the president of the Royal Society between 2005 and 2010. Rees is the winner of the Crawford Prize, which is the most prestigious award in astronomy, amongst many other awards. The more I study nature, the more I stand amazed at the work of the Creator. Science brings men nearer to God. In good philosophy, The word cause ought to be reserved to the single divine impulse that has formed the universe. Little signs take you away from God, but more of it take you closer to Him. Louis Pasteur, the founder of microbiology and immunology. A creator must exist. The Big Bang ripples and subsequent scientific findings are clearly pointing to an ex nihilo creation consistent with the first few verses of the book of Genesis. Quantum chemist Henry F. Schaefer III, 5-time nominee for the Nobel Prize. Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. Albert Einstein. When confronted with the order and beauty of the universe and the strange coincidence of nature, it's very tempting to take a leap of faith from science into religion. I am sure many physicists want to. I only wish they would admit it. Physicist Tony Rotman, former postdoctoral fellow at Oxford University. Religion is founded on faith. It seems to me that when confronted with the marvels of life and the universe, one must ask why and not just how. The only possible answers are religious. For me, that means Protestant Christianity, to which I was introduced as a child and which has withstood the tests of a lifetime. But the context of religion is a great background for doing science. In the words of Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth His handiwork. Thus, scientific research is a worshipful act, in that it reveals more of the wonder of God's creation. Arthur L. Shahalo, professor of physics of Stanford University and winner of the 1981 Nobel Prize in Physics. Everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe. A spirit vastly superior to that of man, and one in the face of which we, with our modest power, must feel humble. In view of such harmony in the cosmos, which I, with my limited human mind, am humbled to recognize, there are yet people who say there is no God. But what really makes me angry is that they quote me for the support of such view. Albert Einstein. An equation for me has no meaning unless it expresses a thought of God. Srinivasa Ramanujam, who is widely regarded to be one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. I build molecules for a living. I can't begin to tell you how difficult that job is. I stand in awe of God because of what He has done through His creation. My faith has been increased through my research. Only a rookie who knows nothing about science would say science take away from faith. If you really study science, it will bring you closer to God. James Tour, one of the world's leading nanoscientists. Romans chapter 1, 19 and 20. For that which is known about God is evident to them, and made plain in their inner consciousness, because God himself has shown it to them. So men are without excuse, altogether without any defense or justification.
As a carpenter's son, he worked with wood. The days were so long, he learned all that he could, paying attention to every detail, using his hands, wood and nails. He was a man acquainted with grief, a man whom all men can turn for relief. Denied and afflicted, thorns placed round his head. Forgive them, Father, the last words he said. He built an eternity for you and for me, a life filled with charity that never fails. He built this all with his hands, wood